Here.
Here. Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Here. Mayor Go.
Here. Consent agenda. Items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion of these items will occur unless a council member requests the item to be removed from the consent agenda. If an item is removed from the consent agenda, it will be considered elsewhere on the agenda for this meeting. Prior to asking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, I would ask if anyone desires to remove an item from the consent agenda for public discussion. Therefore, if not, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of December the 17th, 2019, and bills and payrolls for the last half of December 2019 be approved. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Hall, questions, comments, discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Raven. Yes. Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Commissioner Owen.
Yes.
Mayor Go.
Yes. Presentations, petitions, and communications. This portion of the City Council meeting is reserved for persons who desire to address the Council. The Illinois Open Meetings Act mandates the City Council may not take action on comments received on matters that have not been identified on this agenda. The Council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the matter for action on the agenda for another meeting. Persons addressing the Council are requested to limit their presentation to 3 minutes to avoid repetitious comments. We would also ask that you state your name and address for the record as well as stand when speaking. Are there those here this evening who may wish to address the Council at this time? Harry?
I come up here to see you about my issue with my license.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Well, you call me Mr. Perry, so it's Rob Perry, 1593 East County Road 250 North.
Thank you.
Just want to bring back to date what had happened so people here know. 1st of December, I made a trip to Kyle Hill's office to talk to him about my issue with the license that I have. And from the course, the conversation with Kyle, I kind of figured that things were being worked on, and no assurances, of course, but I ran away from the meeting figuring that things were going to work out. And then when I get the hearing notice, on the 30th of December, and by the 31st, my license is no longer good. So all I'm saying is I don't understand why there shouldn't have been more talk up from the December 1st of what was going on to where we're at now. And then when I get here, we have your hearing, and all of a sudden, I don't have a license. The worst part of this is that I've done an awful lot of work, and I'm going to ask all of the council members to come out and take a look at what I've done. It's a nice facility. I have around 8 employees right now. I'm going to have to add 4 or 5 more because of what I'm doing. The consensus with the license is it's actually food against liquor. That's what the liquor control ordinance is. I'm having trouble because gross dollars doesn't make sense, and I want somebody to explain to me what that entails, because with what you put on the media, to the media was gross dollars, the dollars I didn't even get. Okay, so obviously the ordinance doesn't work, and all I'm trying to say is I don't understand why we're where we're at in this juncture. I've been here my whole life. I don't have any tarnishes or stains on my ability to deliver liquor. I've never been cited for any problems. We don't need to be cutting jobs, we need to be adding jobs. And it doesn't look like you care whether or not, as a mayor, and I'm addressing you, I don't think you care whether or not we have jobs or we don't have jobs, because the point is that 8 people are going to get displaced, and their money's turned over in this local economy 7 times. So obviously it's not a business builder when you cut somebody and shut them down. And the point is that the revenue that I was making wasn't to make any money, and I guarantee to show you my income statement and balance sheet. It's made to pay wages. So enforcing your ordinance, whatever you think that ordinance is, hurts more than it helps. And I'm not too excited, but I'm willing to try to work with the city to try to fix things if they're fixable. So I entertain all of you from the council, and you too, Kyle. I've invited you out many times to come out and see it. You too, Mayor, you can come take a look at it and see what I've done. It's not a one-dimensional business anymore. It's got many facets, and the people here in Mattoon are going to enjoy what I've done, and they do enjoy it. And if the bottom line with your ordinance, I called Charleston to find out how they handled the same thing. They had something very similar in 2018, and they decided to get rid of it because it didn't work. So now, if I move my facility to Charleston, I won't have to deal with what you're doing, and if that's the wishes of the city, and the city council, and the people here at the city government that I want me to move it to Charleston and take Mattoon money to Charleston, I guess I can do that. I don't want to, but I can. So I'd like for somebody to open discussion up to see whether or not we can fix what's wrong. I'm willing to be, to try to work within the means, because I don't think you want to eliminate jobs. I don't think that's something you want to do. And if that's really what your intent is, that doesn't look good on the council either. So thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Are there others who may wish to? Yes, sir.
My name is James Donasso. I'm from Charleston, Illinois. I don't live in Mattoon, but I've been a Charleston resident for 35 years, small business owner. Some of you may know me. I'm part of the Concerned Taxpayers of Coles County. You may have seen our videos. I know we're not real popular with the county board, but long story short, anytime business issues come up, it concerns me. I started a business here 35 years ago, a business that didn't exist. It's a unique business, okay? No one else does what I do in the county, and I can tell you this much. In the last 8 to 10 years, it's been a struggle to make it in this county, and it's hard. And I don't know how many people here own businesses, but when a business dies a natural death, I can accept that due to market factors. Okay? Maybe the business wasn't well thought out, maybe there's not a market for it. But when business dies a death due to overtaxation and overregulation, that's just plain wrong. And in Illinois, we are overregulated and we're overtaxed. And if you don't think so, try opening a business up in Coles County and see. Everything from the health department all the way on down to the property tax system is broken. And it costs lots of money. We got a guy here who's invested in a business, he's got jobs here, and now putting these regulations on him is going to shut him down. I'm not asking anybody to consider going against what Illinois law is, but I'd like somebody to clarify for me. Is gaming revenue considered part of the gross receipts in Charleston too, with their facilities that have gaming and food? Does anybody know?
I do not believe so, the way they addressed it.
Okay, so
every city addresses it different.
So everyone addresses it different, but isn't there an Illinois statute that oversees the gaming? Do you have the latitude to say, we're going to include gross receipts as part of gaming in Mattoon, but they're not going to include it in Charleston? Do you have the latitude legally to do that? Can anyone answer that question?
Yes, we do.
You do have the legal latitude.
That's part of the liquor regulation, not part of the gaming regulation. So, but I mean, that's not whether, I mean, Charleston and Mattoon are separate entities, just like Illinois and Indiana don't have the same rules. Mattoon and Charleston don't have to also.
I understand.
There's nothing that says we have to count. I mean, we make the rules in our ordinances of what goes into gross receipts.
So let me ask you this much. If that's the truth, and you decide to go that route, why would you do that and put a business out that is generating revenues and jobs for your city? I did some checking. I got data from the Illinois Comptroller's Office, okay? End of year, this is for 2019, City of Mattoon, $140,921,788. That's what your debt is. Did you agree with that? That was the comptroller numbers. That was what they said on their site. And I have a screenshot of it if anyone wants to see it. So you're $140 million in a size of Mattoon in debt, and this is what you're going to do to promote business? Because there's only two things you can do. You can cut your spending, like I know you're trying to do, and try to increase revenue, which really, government doesn't generate revenue, it just taxes the people who generate revenue and collects. So you got a tax-paying entity here that you want to get rid of. which makes absolutely no sense. So we've got regulation and taxation that's going to drive a business out, not a natural death due to market factors, but due to regulations. That's just unheard of with your debt level? Are you kidding me? You guys should be bending over backwards for somebody who's going to want to invest in this community. You're sending a message to every business owner out there that's thinking about investing in Mattoon and saying, go ahead and invest. And if we don't like what you do, whether we just don't like it morally or we just disagree with it, we're going to use the law as a sword instead of a shield, and we're going to take you out. How can you do that? You guys are $140 million in debt. Are you kidding me? There's no way out of that unless you grow this place like crazy. That's nuts. And that ticks me off as a business owner, because if you're going to do that to him, what are you going to do to somebody else? That's crazy. This policy is nuts. Charleston at least is smart enough to say we're not going to include that in our gross receipts because they probably want the business. So if you want to lose a business, keep following the same policies and procedures you're doing. How does that make sense? Seriously, how does it matter? How does that make sense?
I believe they regulate a different way. They limit the number of licenses, where we don't.
You don't limit any license here?
On restaurants, we do not.
But you're going to force a guy out of business. So you don't think that there's some reflection on that regulation or that law deserves some consideration? I mean, you're taking away the guy's livelihood. That's what you're doing. You're taking away someone's livelihood. And you don't know how hard it is to make. Weren't you a business instructor at EIU? Have you ever owned and operated your own business?
No.
Okay, that's the difference between real world and ivory tower. Okay? I resent that as a business owner, that another one of the businesses has to go down in Coles County. How long are we going to see this? It's crazy. If you guys do not reconsider this, it's insane. It is insane. And this $140 million, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse. You're sending a message with your vote. That's all I have.
Are there others who may wish to address the council? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Kirk Allen. I don't know when your liquor policy, it's chapter 114 in your ordinances, I don't know when it was adopted. I'm going to assume it was adopted a long time ago. And I don't know how many of you have actually read it. But it's very interesting reading. And I'll share copies with this. Because of the controlling nature of an act relating to alcoholic liquors enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Illinois, approved January 31st, 1934, over and with respect to the subject matter of this chapter, this is the important part, and to eliminate any inconsistencies therewith, each and every part of said act of the General Assembly, commonly known and hereafter referred to as the Liquor Control Act, as the same is or may be hereafter amended, which relates in any manner to the sale or retail of alcohol, is hereby adopted and made part of this chapter. So what you did was you took Liquor Control Act and said, that's our act. That's what that says, correct? Everybody agree with that? That's what it says, okay? Download it from your website. State law defines restaurant in the Liquor Control Act. Restaurant means any public place kept, used, maintained, advertised, held, blah, 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 and then it ends. And then in your definition, it has virtually the same language with an addition. And the addition is, and which during the preceding 3-month period has generated more than 50% of its total gross revenues from the sale of prepared food. That's not in the Liquor Control Act. And the reason I mention that is your very opening chapter says you've adopted in whole the Liquor Control Act, but you've added language that's not in the Liquor Control Act definition of a restaurant. That is the first part of an inconsistency that I think most would recognize. If it's not the Liquor Control Act, why did we put it in there? What purpose did it serve? Was it positive or negative? And I think from what we've heard tonight, from a simple evaluation process, when this was put in, I don't know when that language, the 50% was added. I have no idea whether it was last year, 5 years, or when, if gaming was even around. You, by chance?
Yeah, it was around 15.
It was before gaming was here.
Okay, so it was before gaming. Logically, the intent was to put a ratio of food versus liquor, not food versus liquor and the gambling, or the, whatever they call it, the gaming money. And I think that's a logical assumption under the circumstance, but the fact that you're not adopting the entire act, you've actually added to it, is concerning, because you've told the public, you can pass those around, there's a copy for everybody. You told the public that this is what we adopted, but it's not true. You've added something to it that's not in the actual state law. And I would hope that you could address that and make it food and liquor. That was the original intent. Gaming, I don't think, needs to be added into those gross revenues, because you have no control over some guy that wants to walk in and drop $1,000 in a machine. There's just no way. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense in that comparison. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others who may wish to address the council? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Tim Quackenbush, 3813 Western, wide, long, Mattoon resident. I've got some questions for safety for the city council. Who's in charge of the depot project as far as the garage storage and the new garage?
It's under arts and tourism, but the building's underneath the city. I mean,
Well, who basically takes care of it?
Public
Decisions.
Public Works does,
Public Works,
Yes.
so it's under you.
yes.
Okay. I've got a couple of pictures here, and I know you can't act on it right now, but I consider this one of the most problematic things you've ever put in. This is basically a sidewalk rail next to a drop-off that's 7 feet. And then, I don't know, I consider this public endangerment, and I'd ask that, I'm trying to look out for the city.
There'll be a gate put on there. The railing along the side has been put up in addition to that. And then there's a lock gate that's going in. Brooks Creek Cedar is doing that work for us.
So this is not completed.
There is a 5-foot high fence.
I'm talking about this
Yes,
rail.
yes.
So a small child can walk under or around or over this rail and fall 7 feet from there down to the railroad tracks.
No, it'll be locked off as soon as the gate is put on.
Yeah, but it's not locked off now.
Correct.
Well, I can ask the council to go down there and look at
The
this.
fence and the gate are under construction.
Under construction, so you have temporary fencing that you've got, so this can't happen.
We had, in past tense, temporary construction fencing up there.
It looks
That
pretty firm.
rail is for the people that are working inside of the fence.
Well, what about the general population that basically comes to our depot and, you know, if you have a small child that's climbing around on that, and they climb through it and fall, what?
They won't be able to get in there as soon as the gate is put on.
As soon as the gate gets open. Next question on Heritage Park. Why does this wooden platform not have any rails or be filled in? Now, if this isn't an ankle biter, breaking your knee, breaking your hip, I mean, does this meet ADA regulations? Folks, I'm just trying to help you. I mean, I look at it, I don't want anything to do with politics. I tried to work with you for years. That's all I got. I mean, you guys made it.
thank you for pointing that out.
Are there others who may wish to address?
Mayor, on another issue, Rob Perry again. I attended a hearing over courthouse with Tim on the situation. There were some things brought up that I'd like clarification on. In that meeting where I testified with Quack over the problem with the zoning, we heard from the city attorney that there was a sunset clause that was due to expire May of 2020. So we've looked for the paperwork showing that there was a meeting that was adopted, but there's no paperwork for that. So our city attorney told the judge that there was a sunset clause. That's what he told him, because I heard that. And I'd like to know if that sunset clause for that zoning that was done in 2015 actually does exist. I want to know that it exists, and does it run out in May of 2020? Can anybody answer that?
It exists, I don't have paperwork in front of me right now, but
Right.
it does exist.
Well, it's in one of our ordinances.
Yeah, it was in the.
So it was passed by the city council.
Correct.
If it was 2015, it was 2015.
It was in the previous ordinance, and that was
Okay.
basically renewed when.
You should be able to get you that paperwork. It should be the city council passed.
So if the city council passed it though, we were told in the meeting that everything would stay and remain the same. So is the sunset clause going to be adopted May of 2020? That's what I want to know.
I believe it would be, because it was in the ordinance as adopted.
Are you saying yes?
I believe it would be, yes.
So that means our zoning changes May in 2020, even though you told us that it would be grandfathered in.
That could possibly be, yes.
Sounds like a lawsuit to me.
Are there others who may wish to address the council? Yes, sir.
I'm George Drummond, I live at 807 North 33rd. I just want to know, those little kids down by where I live at, okay, there's a daycare down there, and there's people speeding down through there all the time,
Where's that located?
807 North 33rd. And I want to know if there can be caution children playing sign down there, or speed limit sign, or cops making extra patrol down there, or what. I mean, there's traffic nonstop down there. Semis coming through there, Roll-King semis, Alton semis coming down through there all the time. And down there on DeWitt, from 21st Street all the way down, when the sidewalks gonna get fixed? I ride my bicycle down through there all the time. There's humps in the sidewalks. I mean, sidewalks need fixed around here. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Are there others who may wish to address the council? Yes, sir.
I really did. Rex Dukeman. I'm actually from Charleston, but operate a business here in Mattoon. But I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight, but I actually attended the hearing that Rob was at in Charleston also that day. The one thing that bothers me is that supposedly in 2015, there was a meeting for the residents here in town to go over this zoning change. And then they were told by the council that they would be grandfathered in. So, is there any documentation showing that they would be grandfathered in? I know there was some documentation about a meeting that was going to be held with these folks after that meeting that evening to talk about that, but it never happened, from what I understand. So, can you shed any light on that subject?
I think there were about 2 or 3 meetings.
Yeah, we had the zoning board meeting, which has minutes. We'll go back and look at the minutes.
The 4 or 5 individuals.
The 4 or
You've
5
had meetings with them after
we
that
did.
meeting?
We were going to have a meeting and we did not, and those zonings did not get changed.
Okay, so you're saying that Mr. Perry, Mr. Quackenbush, and the other 3 individuals that were mentioned, their zoning is not going to change in May of 2020. Is that correct?
The one, I can't guarantee you names, who was in there, but the ones that were pulled out and said we would have a later date.
Right.
We did not change the zoning that night.
Right.
And we did not change the zoning when the zoning map got passed. So those properties did not get changed.
And they will not come May 2020.
Because they're still zoned the same as what they were. The zoning map still shows the same.
Okay.
I don't know the individuals, but
So
the
the
ones that-
sunsetter policy or ordinance by the attorney,
would be for the ones that actually got changed, properties that actually got changed.
okay? But didn't they get changed back in 2015 or 16 when you?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So why would he brought that up in that hearing that day?
because the use of the property, the zoning changed, but the use may not have changed. So
Okay.
the use gets grandfathered in for that.
And the owner, and as long as those owners own that property, the city really can't go in and change the classification of their zoning, is that correct? Because if you did that, you could possibly put somebody out of business, is that correct? So,
The way you're saying it, yes, sounds correct, reasonable. I'd have to talk to attorney about that.
and the only reason I say that is because if you would do something like that to those 4 or 5 individuals, what would stop you from doing it to 20 others or 30 other people in this area?
The ones we pulled out, like, I remember Rob Ferry's, it was industrial at the time, it stayed industrial, it's still industrial on that map. So the ones that changed zoning, the question is whether or not the sunset rule applies or not.
Okay.
So,
Like I say, it doesn't have anything to do with me because I didn't actually have, complain about my zoning. It wasn't going to make any difference in my business, but it could in other people's business. I just wouldn't want our local government to be stepping on people's toes, putting them out of business, because we need people to come to our community, not leave it.
and that's why we had the public hearing, is a lot of them that came in and said, I don't want mine changed to this or to that.
Okay.
We changed it to reasonable or what they wanted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others who wish to address the council? All right, we will go on into new business then. Commissioner Graven?
Make a motion to approve council decision request 2020-2001, awarding the bid in the amount of $203,786.95 to Darrell Inc. of Casey for the water and sewer construction at Cole Center subdivision phase 2.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Cox? Questions, comments, discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Graven?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Gilbert?
Yes.
I move to approve council decision request 2020-2002, approving the plans and specifications for the Sarah Bush rechlorination project.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Hall? Questions, comments, discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Graven? Yes. Mayor Gilbert?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve council decision request 2020-2003, approving the final 2019 motor fuel tax street maintenance expenditure statement in the amount of $515,743.62, and authorizing the mayor to sign the municipal maintenance expenditure statement.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Cox? Questions, comments, discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Graven? Yes. Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Mayor Gilbert?
Yes.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-3054, appropriating $600,000 of motor fuel tax funds for the 2020 street maintenance uses, approving the 2020 motor fuel tax street maintenance estimate, street municipal estimate of maintenance cost statement in the amount of $588,600, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to sign the documents.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Hall? Questions, comments, discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Graven? Yes. Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Mayor Gilbert?
Yes.
Something fun for a change here, Mayor.
Pardon me?
We have a good one, something
good.
fun here for a change. So I move to approve council decision request 2020-2004, authorizing the employment of David Olish as a water treatment plant operator.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Owen? Questions, comments, discussion? Commissioner?
David is here this evening, and Dean, do you have anything to add?
David comes to us from the city of Charleston, very well qualified candidate, has a degree from Eastern in environmental biology, also has experience in fisheries and lakes, and we're looking forward to having him on board.
Absolutely.
Congrats. Welcome. Thank you. Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Graven? Yes. Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Gilbert?
Yes.
I
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-3055, authorizing the execution of an agreement for interim fire chief services with Kevin E. Schott with an effective date of January the 13th, 2020, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Graven. Commissioner, would you like to introduce?
Yes, Kevin is in, right here, front row. Sorry, to look back. Kevin's right here in the front row. We'll stand up real quick, Kevin. Kevin's going to join us for a 6-month contract for an interim chief. He's got extensive experience both in city fire fighting and also in the military. And I think it'd be a good addition for our interim period. Thank you. I don't know if you have anything to say or not, Kevin.
Correction to the motion, it's Kevin D.
Is that what I said?
No, you said E.
Oh, I see now. Kevin, we'll get the right initial of it.
I look forward to working with all of you and meeting all the public and try to make things better.
As long as the correct name is on the paycheck.
Right. That's more important.
Welcome, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Commissioner Owen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Mayor Gilman.
Yes. I move the approval of council decision request 2020-2005, ratifying the mayor's appointment of Mark Nelson to the Coles County Airport Authority with an unexpired term through April the 30th of 2021. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Hall. I would point out that this is a replacement for former Mayor Roger Detro, who has served on the Airport Authority for quite a number of years, and Mayor Detro resigned from that position last month. Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Owen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Gilman.
Yes. Going into department reports, City Administrator and Community Development, Mr. Gill.
It's been busy. We've got notifications from the police union and the public works union for, asking union for getting ready to start negotiations. Sent out the preliminary timeline for the budget at the department head meeting on Monday. Community development, they're building out there at the hotels and Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we had some nice weather over the Christmas holidays. They got foundations in and continuing every nice day they can to work out there. Other than that, it's just been steady and business as usual.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gill? City Attorney, Mr. Jones?
Not tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Jones? City Clerk, Mrs. O'Brien?
We had the liquor license renewed, had several FOIAs, several insurance issues, the preparing of the statement of economic interest list to go to the county, being prepared, and otherwise business as usual.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mrs. O'Brien? Finance, Ms. Wright?
I just had two things I wanted to note. The remedy was paid to the firefighters on December 30th. We will be issuing 1099s to IRS, and those monies were paid from the insurance fund as a judgment. The second item is that the Illinois legislature passed downstate police and fire pension consolidation. That law is effective January 1st. We have 30 months to transfer the assets. The boards haven't discussed the transfer yet, but I would imagine it would be later rather than sooner due to the nature of some of the investments of the funds. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Wright? Public Works, Mr. Barber?
Amtrak and their contractor returned to work on sewer work in the passenger platforms at the train station a few weeks ago. They appear to be making very good progress. DARAD expects, from KZ, expects to start work on the water and sewer at Blue Cross Blue Shield within the next 2 weeks. In terms of bid openings that are on the schedule, for this spring, the rechlorination work out at Sarah Bush that was on the agenda tonight opens up on January 29th. Plans for phase 1 of the bike trail and for the final phase of Marshall Avenue go to bidders on the 30th of January, and those bids open on March 6th. That's all I have to report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Barber? Commissioner, anything from the fire department?
The only thing is bringing on Kevin, of course, as our interim chief, and immediately starting on a permanent search for a permanent chief using the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association in that search. All applicants are welcome, and hopefully we'll get that resolved fairly quickly.
Thank you. Police Department, Chief Taylor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We've got 7 to 8 guys dedicated to the homicide trial this week. Mark Curry homicide took place at sunrise last May. Defendant's claiming self-defense. It should be over by Friday. And we're due for a decision on the Quackenbush property by January 10th. Judge Bovard has rendered a written opinion. I kind of expect him to rule on public nuisance, which is really what we're after. I'm guessing that he's going to leave zoning alone, but I don't know. If I get that written opinion, I'd be happy to share it with you guys if you're concerned about it, the zoning issues, if he addresses zoning. Other than that, all is well.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Taylor? Okay. Arts and Tourism, Ms. Burdett.
Thank you. The end of the month, the 25th and 26th of this month in the Lone Elm Room is our annual quilt exhibit. This is one of the most spirited groups that we have, that we work with. The Arts Council works with a very good group of quilters who put this together and work with Julia to do that. And so it should be a great show. 25th and 26th. I'm working on booking Bagel Fest Entertainment. I've got one down, one in the hopper, and one mystery. So working on that. Also working on the Lightworks report now that we've finished out with the numbers, working on finishing out with the final revenue expense report, but just looking over some things that Debbie Crane had passed on to Dave Cox and myself about visitors since 1992, which I think is a pretty interesting stat. We've had over 1 million folks go through there, estimated. And when we think about what people, we talk about branding a lot. I think we throw that word around maybe too loosely. But when we talk about branding, that's a branding element of what we are to our community and to our visitors. So it's a very positive thing. Like it really it continues to get better. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Burdett? Okay. I move that we recess to closed session pursuant to the Illinois Open Meetings Act for the purpose of a discussion of the appointment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the city or legal counsel for the city, collective negotiating matters between the city of Mattoon and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and litigation which is affecting the city, and an action is probable or imminent. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Graven?
Sorry.
Thank you. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Graven?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Mayor Gilbert?
Yes. Once we return from the closed session, the only action that we will take is to adjourn this meeting.
Mayor, before we adjourn into...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Well,
before we adjourn into closed session, one, because I have a feeling several people will, or everyone will be gone when we come out of the closed session. And well, I appreciate everybody being here and your positions and concerns that you do have. Administrator Gill and I talked the other day, and I had asked that we at least take a look and review these ordinances that we have, see if they're still up to date, if things need to be looked at, tweaked, changed, brought up to 2020, so to speak. I just don't want everybody leaving here thinking that we didn't hear you tonight, and I've asked that we take a look at these ordinances, either determine that something needs to change, or we confirm our position as to why those ordinances are that way, and if we could communicate back to the individuals that are here tonight and spoke.
I think they deserve that, and just confirmation of why things are the way they are, as well as, like I said, reviewing things and seeing if things do need to be changed, because the dynamics of it may have changed since those were enacted. So I think it behooves us to do so. So that's all I wanted to say before everybody was gone.
Commissioner Graven, do you have anything?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes, I'll echo kind of what Dave said. There certainly were some comments that were made that need to be investigated. There are others that, there needs to be some improvements. But I tell you, as a citizen of Mattoon all my life, and seeing what is going on here, we had a lot of negative comments today. There are more positive things going on in Mattoon, Illinois than there has been in a very long time. There's jobs being created, there's businesses being started, there's construction going on, there's a lot of activity with Mattoon in Motion. 100 volunteers are working on a lot of positive things. We've got a lot of things going on with tourism and arts. There's just, we hear a lot of negative things, but I'll assure you, we are looking for jobs and we're working hard at it. And there are a lot of things coming this way. We're a community that's growing. We've got a mall that's opening new stores. We've got economic development, new buildings, construction going on out on Learning Road and Route 16. There's a ton of growth going on here, and there's a lot more to come. So even though we do hear a lot of comments, sometimes, rightfully so, that need to be investigated, this is not a community that's going the other direction. We've got a director of the Chamber of Commerce back there that's having a hard time keeping up with all of the activity that's going on in Mattoon, Illinois, and I feel extremely good about it. Even though we do have people that don't even live in our community that come over here and complain about it.
Hold on. That's uncalled for. I live in a...
Wait. You had your chance. You had your chance, and I didn't interrupt you.
You're
so you're done.
towards me, and
I'd like to suggest we go to executive session.
Okay? I'm talking about individual business owners that you guys are driving out. The purpose of government is to help people in the community, not hurt them.
Chief, could you join us also?
George, I'll get some places to run through there. Don't you just be big. Don't you just be.
The only reason the laws go is rules.
Is it mostly people coming off the interstate on 1000 North and then coming? Is that what most of it is? Coming in from 1000 North and then